Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it straight to you. This is episode 88. I'm your host, Black Ice. I'm joined by my co hosts each and every week on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So we got my guy over here to my left, or sorry, my right if you're watching on YouTube. That's Goop Master Flex. What's going on, man?
Not much, just gooping.
Stay gooping.
All right.
Mm,
All right. Yeah,
Keeping it
real,
simple.
real simple. Real simple. I like that. Man, he did a little
like a
flex on
flex?
us too. You know, he just came from the gym.
Okay.
Okay.
Whoa, I will
Oh.
never do that. I'm weak,
Okay,
guys.
Man said he's weak. Damn.
Well, we got my man down low, Mr. 525. Chris, how you doing, man?
Like I told you earlier, bruh. Tired. So tired. But I'm still here about these games. Let's get to it. Let's get the talking. Let's do it.
All right. Work. Well, I mean, hey, in the spirit of it, you said let's get straight into it. I mean, this is your time to shine here, Mister. So hit us off with that buffer.
All right. This week, people. The buffer is, what is that thing that you feel would take VR to the next level? Because it's already pretty up there. It's doing pretty well for itself, I'd say. But I think almost all things can be improved upon. So, my answer, excuse me, would be, this is a major ask, and I know it's never gonna happen. No, there's no way. I think there is another level that it can get to in terms of streaming, right? So, like, I've never seen it. I don't know if it exists. So if it does, correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like they've got to be able to somehow create a way where they can keep the person who's playing the game, keep their perspective when they're playing, but then also be able to give the viewer almost like a option between watching their perspective and like a third person perspective. You know what I'm saying? So like we can kind of like see them as the NPC playing the game. I think that's cool. You know what I mean? I think that kind of gives it another level of immersion in a sense. And I think that shit would be kind of dope to see. And because I couldn't really think of what else you can improve on, maybe like the joysticks and things like that. But I think if you get that shit right, it probably would cost a hell of a lot of money to do your setup. Because I don't know what the hell you got to buy to do that shit. But I mean, it could be dope. It could be dope, especially if there's a way to give people the choice to toggle.
Yeah.
Like, dog, that's kind of crazy.
So I can tell you that the streaming thing exists to an extent, right? And it's actually not that hard, right? If you have like an Oculus Quest, the wireless one, and you plug it into your computer, you could output that visual to OBS like pretty easily. And then you can also do it so that, like, I guess it really depends on how you want to go about it. But you can either do it so that what you're seeing in VR is like the main thing on the screen, and then if you have like an external camera watching you like in real life, you can have that in the corner, or you can flip it. But the one thing that you did say that doesn't seem to exist, and I would have to imagine it's not going to be too hard to do, but the portion of seeing the person in the world like in third person, that's interesting. I don't know. I think that'd be interesting.
That'd be weird.
I think for me, it's more interesting to watch the person like in VR seeing exactly what they're seeing. But I could see a scenario where certain games you would want to see them like in third person, so you see their character moving around and doing all the things.
So like that Friday the 13th game, right? The one where there's one person that's the killer and the rest of the people have to kind of scatter and shit. I think that's a cool ass game to do something like that in. Because you're going to want to see sometimes the perspective of the killer doing its thing. But I would argue sometimes from a third person perspective, it might look cooler. So I don't know. It might be a game by game basis, maybe.
Yeah.
But I could see how some people would like it in certain things.
That's interesting, man. I never thought about the streaming aspect of seeing someone else, like seeing their avatar do their thing. But then I also wondering, so if you go based on, and it's interesting that you bring this up because Facebook just had this big conference and they announced all these things for their Quest line. Like they announced a new Quest headset, they announced like a partnership with Microsoft and some really cool things. They're actually going to be able to stream Game Pass games to your Quest device like right now. So that's gonna be cool. Um, but yeah, like I think their vision is that everybody has the headset, right? Everybody uses it in whatever capacity. So I'd be curious if it gets to the point where if you're in this metaverse, right, you could be spectating someone else's game already and looking at them in third person doing whatever it is that's happening, as opposed to waiting for like streaming through Twitch or like Facebook gaming or whatever other avenue that exists. Like it would just be integrated into the world that's there because it's already supposed to be a thing where somebody can hop in and spectate a game, like if that metaverse, that world exists that anybody can come and play and thinking like super high level here. So I don't know,
Yeah,
just an
yeah,
interesting thought.
Hmm.
But
yeah,
Manny,
yeah.
yeah, move on to whatever you got here, man. What would you like to see in VR that doesn't already exist?
Some way to like slim everything down so that it's less like of controls and more of just you. I don't know how to explain it really. Well, it's more of just like, instead of always holding a controller in your hand, how about like implement something that can like read your finger movements and everything like that, so you're not real, so it's not feedback and just like a finger move if you press a button or whatever. Like you can actually fully control the virtual reality world, and like not only that, but have like some kind of haptic feedback as well, so you feel what's happening. Now I know there's like a lot of things that's actually out, like for example, like vests that um, you know, that you feel gunshots with or anything like that. But like to possibly just like feel it all over your body. I don't know how that will happen because obviously, it's everybody's body is different, everything like that. You kind of have to like be able to adapt to everybody and everything. So I don't know how possible it would be, but just like the fact that to keep you more immersed with taking less control and maybe cutting the way of the headset and everything like that. If it's possible, that would be dope. But
Sounds
it's
like what you're saying
probably
is you want us all to jack our spines into computers like the Matrix.
Whoa, you
not
went to
like
the extreme.
not like that. I'm talking more
No, but
just like
I get what you're saying though, because I think there is a future where what he's talking about exists, where like they do simplify it all. I just think it takes like really good auto tracking features, right? Like, am
Yeah.
I wrong on that? They got to really be able to get that at a fast frame rate.
So there's
And
there's the there's the world where I guess the first part of what he says exists, but the part where like you get haptic feedback without like having something on you, that's not
mm,
possible unless they like jack into your spine, like
yeah,
like that's literally not
not
possible.
like
And I don't want
like
that.
I'm more of just like not just in the jacket to spot. Like I don't know if it will be like
No,
it's hard
so
to
I get the
explain. Like
general
some
gist of
kind of
what
like
you're saying.
some kind of exo suit kind of thing that just like wraps around your body,
Yeah.
but like find a way to not make it as clunky and shit, and like so can track your movement and like you can still feel what's happening.
I get you. I mean, I think at a low level we're like there, right? Like there are more
Yeah.
advanced vests that aren't as bulky and like they can go through a little bit more of your body. I do think that so one of the things that Meta being Facebook was talking about was like they really want to focus a lot more on eye tracking and hand tracking. So the Quest 2, which is honestly it's like what 2-3 years old at this point, it has hand tracking like and it's actually really good. But I can imagine like there's a rumor that next year they're gonna have the Quest 3. And then this new Quest Pro that they just announced, it has eye tracking as well, and it's a slimmer profile, but it's not really designed for gaming or anything like that. It's really designed for like work. It's kind of a boring and over expensive product in my opinion, but the eye tracking stuff is super compelling. Like in the concept of okay, like if the game knows what I'm looking at, it will allow me to interact with that thing quicker and like be able to maneuver around the game a lot better. And then obviously the hand tracking stuff is a big deal too. I don't know, it's just all of it's like really interesting because there are so many different places that they could go, but they're also like I think the biggest problem to me, and I guess this might go into my answer, is the biggest problem is VR is actually very far along, and there's a lot of really cool and innovative shit that's happening, but Facebook is doing it, so nobody's excited about it. That's like really what it boils down to. Like, like I said, they just had this conference, and like there's a ton of really interesting and cool things that they're doing. Like you got John Carmack, who's actually one of the people who like invented the id Tech engine and Doom and all that stuff. And like he's just super smart, and he's doing really crazy and cool shit, and like nobody is really talking about it because it's like, well, Facebook's doing it, so that's they're gonna like find a way to invade our privacy and do this and do that, and it's like we're not actually looking at the like technical advancements of it, and it's like I kind of wish somebody else would step in and like make greater strides than what Facebook is doing, so that we could actually have it more available and people really be excited about it, because it's really fucking cool. There's just a lot of really cool games, like Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 4 that got remade for it. It's actually a really good version of the game. Like it sold a ton of copies. Like Beat Saber is kind of the game that everybody defaults to, but it's kind of like a modern version of Guitar Hero mixed with like Dance Dance Revolution. But like all that shit's cool. Like it's good and it works really well. The fitness stuff works really well. Like we're here. It's just that I wish there were more competitors than just Facebook, and B, it got to an even more affordable price tag. Like I think Facebook was selling the Quest at a loss for a while. It was like $350, and then they just jacked up the price a little bit. And like once it hits 200 for the level of fidelity that you get from like the Quest 2, I think that's a price point where people could really start to look at it and say, all right, like this is something that I can go get. Like if it gets to the point where we're looking at the same price point as like the Switch or the Switch Lite or something like that, where everyone can go pick it up and get it for your kids and this, that, and the other. And it's literally just a computer on your face where you obviously can play games with it, but there's more than gaming to be had with this. I don't know. I think that's really what it needs to get to, is just to have it not just be Facebook and make it cheaper, and that would be it. I would go such a long way. But I do want to mention one other thing. I think the Microsoft partnership is really interesting to me because, like, right now it's very like surface level. It's like, okay, you can use Teams and with your Quest or whatever, Microsoft Teams with your Quest, and then obviously you can do the Game Pass stuff, and that stuff's cool. But like, we've talked about this in the past. Like, Microsoft doesn't have a VR headset solution to compete with PlayStation VR. And it doesn't seem like they're inherently interested in that. But if they partner with Facebook on this stuff, we could get some really innovative things down the road. Like imagine, what's it called? Flight Simulator, like fully integrated in VR. So not just you like streaming a game on a virtual screen, but you fully immersed in VR, like streaming the game from the cloud somewhere. And, like imagine Halo being like that, like I think that might be where this partnership eventually leads to, and that's where this whole thing can get broken wide open for both Facebook and Microsoft. Because if you can get to a point where you can stream high quality, like high fidelity games to like a eventually $200 headset or something, forget about it. That PlayStation VR 2 starts to look like kind of like a joke at some level, right? Because when that thing comes out, it's not wireless. You have to be tethered to your PlayStation 5. So let's say PlayStation manages to make it $300. So you have to get a $500 system and a $300 headset. So you're totaling at roughly $800 plus, because I think there's other things that come with it, right? Like you need the camera and so on and so forth. In comparison to just going and buying like a Quest 3 or whatever, Quest 2 Lite, or whatever they eventually come out with, where it's smaller and then you just get your Game Pass subscription and then boom, like, hell, I'm playing Call of Duty in VR. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're like talking about something very different now. And I don't know. I mean, would you guys be interested in something like that? Or like, I think that shit would slap. Like Call of Duty obviously is one of those things that people freak the fuck out for in general. You eventually get that in VR.
Yeah, that's a whole nother kind of simulator at that point.
Yeah.
Whole nother kind of simulator. That's crazy. Any FPS when you think about it. Like Overwatch, sure. Any of these other games, like in that way is wow. BR's in that way. Wow.
I'm trying to think what else. Like
Wow.
Forza. Oh shit! Imagine Forza Horizon in VR. Oh
Yeah.
shit! That's fun. That's fucking fun right there.
Shit. What about like Riders Republic type shit?
That shit would be dope too.
Jesus.
Now that though, I feel like I would get sick. Imagine you trying to do
especially
like,
on the bikes.
like bikes doing backflips and stuff, or like you going down like if you're snowboarding or something like that, and you're like jumping in the air and doing all these crazy tricks. That would make me sick. I don't know if I would be able to do that, but I would love the idea to try it. You know, I'll try it probably one time and be like, yeah, this probably isn't for me, making me a little sick, but there's a lot of people that would love it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm hoping by this time next year we get some other cool like VR experiences. Like imagine like I don't know, Hellblade or something. You know, having like a.
I was just gonna say that.
Like
wow.
That would be.
Just gonna say that, man. Because that's different. Because you always can like give them props for the audio experience with that game. So if you match that audio shit with some visual shit, whew, that's not even a game anymore. Like, what do you call that? Like that's
just an experience. That's just an experience, bro. That's a whole ass experience.
That's something.
You're freaking out, bro. Because like I remember the voices in Hellblade. If you start doing like the psychological horror stuff in VR, nah. Yeah. I might have to. That might not be for me. Just leave it at that. That might not be.
I'm tapping out.
Facts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris, thank you for that buffer. I actually really like that one, especially considering what's going on over at Facebook this week with all their announcements. So I'm definitely personally, you know, I'm a Quest 2 user. I'm gonna keep my eye out because I'm pretty sure once the Quest 3 drops, I'm gonna get that. Especially if they're talking about that eye tracking stuff, and I'm here for all the VR gaming stuff, man. All right, so yeah, let's get into our main topics for this week. Aside from that lovely VR conversation, first thing we got here is the the Super Mario Brothers movie that finally gave us a trailer last week. I want to say last Friday, if I remember correctly. Yeah, man, I have to say, I was talking to Chris about this earlier on. I was not expecting this to be good or interesting. It just looked like, okay, we just have a bunch of celebrities that are going to be voicing in this movie. Just from what I'm seeing at first, it's just like they seem to be putting like special care into this. I still am not a fan of Chris Pratt and his voice. And I feel like they were very deliberate to play only like a small snippet of it at the end. I know some of us have mixed feelings about it here, but and the internet is, you know, the internet's the internet. So there's that conversation with him and Chris Pratt in general. But I don't know. I'm very torn. Like, I'll start by saying Jack Black, dope as fuck as Bowser. I don't remember who's playing Toad, but I liked seeing them in the trailer. And the animation looks amazing. Obviously, we know like what that studio over there can do. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Michael is playing Toad.
Who?
Keegan Michael.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it did not sound like him. I could tell you that. I couldn't pinpoint who it was. So he's obviously doing a good job in the voice department. But yeah, I'm gonna go around. You know, we'll see what you guys are all thinking about it. Chris, I'm gonna start with you here.
So I didn't go into it with huge expectations. Just because I don't know, I overall thought that they were gonna give us some kind of cheesy bullshit, and I wasn't gonna be here for it. I didn't expect them to take it as serious as they did, especially in terms of the animations, because they are beautiful. They are very nice, very very nice. I'm gonna keep it a stack after watching that trailer. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I think the movie's gonna be outstanding, but I will tell you what I think the movie's gonna be. This right here, in my opinion, I'm getting huge Despicable Me vibes off of this shit. Huge. Because this shit right here is gonna sell t-shirts, toys, probably a video game. It's gonna sell a lot of shit. And not only to children, but this is gonna get adults too because of the whole nostalgia thing. So this movie, if it hits the way it's supposed to hit, I expect there to be 2 more sequels. I expect them to go hard as hell with this. This is the kind of movie where they're gonna probably say at one point, "Oh, this is doing so well. Let's give Toad his own movie. I'm telling you, bro, this shit got legs. Like it just the Bowser origin movie. Give Jack Black a whole film right there. This shit got legs. If they do this right, it will be probably one of the bigger CGI franchises that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think that's the point though, because you mentioned Despicable Me, but it is the same. I think I've said it was DreamWorks before, and I'm wrong on that. It's
Yeah.
Illumination Studios, so it is the same people who did Despicable Me. So I think that's the plan, man.
Yeah. Y'all seeing how big the Minions got? Minions blew up beyond proportions. I still don't really understand it. I like the movie and all, but what the fuck? Like, yo, you thought that we're gonna get to this level of popularity? Like, for real, for real? Like,
No,
the Minions
but,
are like a
like-
pop culture icon at this point, bro.
I can tell
I'm telling
you,
that shit
I
crazy.
wasn't surprised.
man.
I can tell you, I wasn't surprised because they're cute
I
little
was, bro.
creatures, and I wasn't surprised.
Like,
That's
it's like almost a cult following for them shits, man. It's crazy how that shit worked out. But yeah, this is that next one, man. You're gonna have people who love Toad. You're gonna have people who love Princess Peach. You're gonna have people who love when they finally do another sequel and they bring in Waluigi and what's his name?
Wario.
Wario, yeah, bruh. There's legs, bro.
You
There's
might not
so
even
many
have to
different
wait
things
for
they
a
could
sequel
do.
on that. That's the thing, man. I think they might do a lot of shit off rip. Like what I think Donkey Kong's in this movie already.
Oh shit, word.
You know, like I don't know, man. Seth Rogen's supposed to be
gonna be
Donkey
throwing
Kong,
barrels.
at least from what they're saying.
Oh, that's awesome. That's my boy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this, man. I like between what Detective Pikachu and like all these Sonic, all these things, like they're not. When you look at it on paper, it's like really, why are y'all doing this? And then you watch it. Like I had no expectations for that Sonic movie, bro. None, and it was so good. So again, I had no expectations for this, but seeing the trailer, I'm like, okay, like I really like the animation on this. This could be very good.
Yeah, it's just yeah. A lot of care is put into it. You can see that from John.
Yeah.
A lot of care.
What I'm looking forward to with this is the jokes that like basically like the thing that Shrek like perfected, right? It was like this is a kids movie, but there are so many jokes for adults in here. So many jokes for adults. And like that makes it like more palatable for everybody to go see.
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting out of this. That's what worked with Sonic. That's what worked with Detective Pikachu. Like, you know, they were kids movies, or really just movies based off of kids characters, which is the only reason why you call it kids movies, but it had adult jokes. So, you know, like you said, the nostalgia is one thing that's going to get a lot of people in the seats, but the quality of the movie, you know, could be a different story altogether. I'm hopeful. I need Hollywood to come correct with more of these movies, man. Like when you're gonna go in and like pluck in you know, like movie characters and whatnot, like maybe let's leave the more cartoonish ones and focus on some of the heavier shit. I want to focus on more of the heavier shit. Just do it right.
I am okay with them getting all this shit out of their system, because I'm gonna tell y'all boys something before we move forward. I'm gonna let you go, Manny. I'm sorry, I just gotta sneak this in there. Get all this bullshit out of the way, because I know a Mega Man movie is coming at some point. I know it is. That shit needs to not disappoint me, because it will break my motherfucking heart, y'all. Like, for real. I have been waiting for this movie for a while. And there's no rumors of it being, you know, cooked up or anything. I just know how Hollywood is going to work. In the next 10 years, they're going to start talking about a Mega Man movie. Ain't no way that they don't. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So get all this shit out of the way, make your little mistakes or whatever, and make sure that shit is pristine. All right.
I would love that. Capcom has to fix their shit first. Capcom needs to get like
always forget about that.
nail a Resident Evil property. They need to like knock that shit out the park. Once that happens, then we might be a little bit more likely to get like a Mega Man joint, because Capcom gotta put it together. Resident Evil is the most marketable movie type of title that they have, and they keep fucking. I mean, they got it right the first 2 times, and then they just fucked it up after that. Like the first 2 Resident Evil movies, great. After that, just a fucking shit show completely. So they got to get back to whatever groove they got going on there, and then we'll see Mega Man. I feel like Mega Man might make a better TV show than a movie.
Really?
I feel like it might. We'll see. I mean, they have
That's
a
a
partnership.
whole other conversation,
I know,
I guess.
I know,
but
I know.
That's interesting.
They have a little partnership with Netflix, right? Based on the show that they made, which obviously got canceled, Resident Evil. But maybe that might be the avenue. Who knows?
A lot of money there, tell you that.
Facts. Manny. Let's hear what you got to say, man. I know we've been going back and forth, Chris and I.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll let y'all shine. But you know where I'm gonna go with this. We already got a Detective Pikachu. We got a Sonic. Now we got a Mario movie. You know what I'm saying? It's about time we might get a Smash.
I knew that was coming.
Get a Smash movie. You know what I'm saying? I'm just waiting because we already know this Mario movie gonna kick off, and Nintendo, wants to get more into that, movie universe and the big screen, the big picture. Now imagine all the Nintendo beloved characters in one screen banging out. Come on, you know how we do. Whatever we say in the podcast gets shed into light. You know how we do. I'm gonna say it right here, right now. We're gonna get a Smash movie in the next 10 years.
Okay, next 10 years.
Okay,
they're going all
got
Marvel.
it because this movie's gonna kick off, and then they're gonna be like, okay, what movie can we do next? And another franchise that everybody loves. This is probably gonna be Zelda. You got those Zelda movie in there. Get that going, get Link in. You got Link in the game now. Okay, who's next? And then you just keep building off from there. You build your character list.
Damn it.
And then you get your movie.
That's literally the Marvel.
He's right. I think he's definitely right about Zelda coming next.
I think Zelda is the thing that makes the most sense. And I kind of stole my question I was going to ask you guys, but I was going to say which one not even which one you think is next, but which Nintendo property would you want to see specifically? Because I'll tell you, the Zelda thing, somebody had a mock-up on Twitter of a Netflix Zelda special, and that shit looked so legit. I was like, oh god damn, I forgot who was Tom Holland was Link. I think Princess Zelda was chick from Emma Watson. And then they had Idris Elba in there somewhere doing something. I was like, yo, these posters look legit. So, I mean, it's obviously not real, but, Zelda could be a thing at some point. But,
Now, would you want it to be like a cartoon movie or, a live action? It's a real question.
I'd rather it be like a CG thing, personally.
Hey, man. You got to kind of match the whole universe thing, so...
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about a live action version. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I feel like, CGI probably be the wave.
What are you thinking, Chris?
Yeah. I would take a live action Metroid. I'd be A-okay with that.
That's definitely going to come down the line.
That was going to be my answer with it. I want that Metroid movie, man. And I don't care if it's... Honestly, I think if they made it anime style, that would slap for Metroid. I don't need it to be CG like this Mario thing. I don't need it to necessarily be live action, but the anime, the way they could come on with that could be it.
There is a way to do that Metroid film if you do it in the right way, where it won't even come off like a video game movie. You could do that in a way with a really serious tone, make it PG-13 or whatever, and have that shit actually hit, on some new age Pitch Black or Chronicles of Riddick type shit or some bullshit. You know what I mean? That shit actually could work. Damn, that'd be crazy. That'd be real crazy. I don't even be playing Metroid like that, but I definitely would watch that.
Nintendo, I still need that Metroid game. Where that at, bro? Metroid Prime 4 or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be at this point. Reboot the whole thing, man. Go back. Make it like a God of War style game. Give it the God of War style reboot.
You want Nintendo to do that?
Yep.
You ain't never gonna get that quality.
I was about to say,
I know,
bro.
Never not. But
once the Switch 2 can run,
but tell me this
games.
though: how fucked up would the game be if the industry? How fucked up would the industry be if Nintendo came out with that type of energy, bro?
I've been waiting for them to do something like that for a while.
It's impossible without a new console, man. That's all I'm gonna say. Give us a new console, Switch 2, more powerful when you dock it, all that kind of thing. But I can't see it being like a God of War style anytime soon. Is gonna stick to the old fashioned roots or whatever, or even like the new route that they had with the recent games they had.
But you know what? People said that for a long time, and then boom, Breath of the Wild came out. Breath of the Wild was just different. Breath of the Wild was different.
Oh, gonna be just like that,
True.
honestly.
But
I feel like you got, well, maybe based on what you said, I feel like you might be focusing a little too much on graphics. I'm not even talking about graphics. I'm talking about you do whatever you do as Nintendo graphically, but you give it that type of story, that type of gameplay around, like third person over the shoulder type of thing, where it's like a really deep action adventure story. Like
Mhm.
that's all I need from them. I don't need it to look like, the most beautiful game in the world. I just need them to come correct with the story and the gameplay, because that's what Nintendo's good at.
I don't know.
Well, they're good with the
You're
gameplay.
going
Story.
you're gonna get hit with the game, and then like you're gonna hit the first dialogue, and it's gonna be fucking letters in the bottom. Like fucking.
I don't care. If the
I
gameplay
don't got
is
time
good
to
enough,
read.
oh man,
because at least what I'm getting at is there's baby steps to it, right? If you don't have the processing power or whatever to make it like a full fledged, I'm talking and like their mouths moving and yet like I'm not looking for that level of God of War stuff. I'm looking for you're completely changing the format. You're making it like a deeper and personalized story, and you're making me connect with the character. That type of stuff. I understand why Nintendo doesn't do the full cutscenes and the this and that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about you can make that story interesting without necessary, like you can do the little blurbs at the bottom and all that other stuff. Like there's ways to get that done. Like other games do that stuff. You have to read it. There are ways to get that done. I just want it to be like more interesting gameplay. Like I don't want the 2D side scroller shit. Like I'm done with that.
I hear you on
That
that
last
one.
Metroid game was, side scrolling. I was like, yeah, I'll pass.
But people really
I
loved it though.
definitely.
Apparently it was really
Yeah,
good.
they did. They did.
And that's fine, but I'm I'm good. I want something more modernized.
Yeah,
Like, Nintendo keeps playing in this nostalgic field, and I'm
man.
like, y'all gotta push forward for me.
Sadly, it works, but
That shit could be dead ass like Halo esque if they did it in the right way, man.
Mm-hmm. Right, man.
That's crazy.
But
That's crazy.
I mean, at the end of the day, as much as I hate to say it, Nintendo will probably disappoint me again, and just won't do anything like that. Whatever, it is what it is. But moving on to something that we are hoping is a little bit more realistic in the near future. Here, it's the Microsoft's acquisition of Activision-Blizzard. I feel like I always almost trip up on that acquisition of Activision. Like I want that
Hmm.
the word always fucks me up. But anyways, so Microsoft definitely was celebrating a little bit last week because it got through one of the first hurdles of approvals, which is the Brazilian and Saudi Arabian boards. They both went through and approved the deal. I think for me, the most interesting thing about this whole process, specifically from the Brazilian board, because I don't know if you guys remember in the past couple, I want to say this must have been months ago, where the information some of the documents came out about the Brazil filings, where Sony said that Call of Duty is like basically a once in a generation type of game, and nobody else can make anything that competes with it, and yada yada yada. Like it would hurt PlayStation gamers if it went away. Like there was all that drama through the filings, and to see that the Brazilian board basically said, yeah, we're good. Like you guys can go through with this. And in the documentation, some of the things that they notated was very specifically like kind of like shots at Sony. I remember distinctly they mentioned saying that this deal, we can't view this deal in the lens of other companies, like protecting other companies. Our responsibility is to protect the consumer, and therefore we feel like this is one of those deals that could be best for consumers. They did like mention some things that they were a bit concerned about, but they said that at the end of the day, if this deal comes about, Call of Duty goes into Game Pass, so on and so forth. Like ultimately, this is a good thing, and that it may not be great for Sony in particular, but Microsoft has gone on record saying that they do plan on making Call of Duty available for as long as possible. So first step of that process. Really, I mean, I guess not surprising for me, but I guess now that it's gone through, we're still waiting to see what's going to come about from the U.S. market. From I think the specific ones they mentioned was the U.S., the U.K., the EU, and I think it was China. China's like a whole different. I don't even know what to expect from that China thing, but the Brazilian one, good start, I suppose. I guess we'll go around the room and just talk about this little blurb first, because there's a little bit more to the story that I'll get to in a second. But, were you guys surprised about this? Like, what are we thinking about this, Manny? I'll start with you.
Yeah, and we're talking about like what UK going against Microsoft and
We didn't get to that
buying-
yet. We're just talking about Brazil for now.
Oh, Brazil. This is Brazil. Brazil. They doing it right.
Whoa.
You don't remember that reference from I was about to say Resident Evil. Fast and Furious.
Furious.
But that classic. Now, I mean, this is exciting. This is like you said, one hurdle, they already hopped over. Now they got a couple more to go. Hopefully they can get it all, which is what we want, of course, as a gamer. Just gets it going. Microsoft is going to definitely do some good to these games. I don't get why Sony's just like, oh, it's not fair for the competition. Acting like they don't have like exclusive games that are pretty much like once in a generation like game. You know what I'm saying? Like they're acting like God of War ain't like going to be the best game of all time kind of thing. So, it is what it is. But in the end, it's good to see that this is moving forward. Shout out to Brazil doing their thing. And you said Saudi Arabia, right?
Saudi Arabia, yeah. We didn't get too much information from the Saudi Arabia one, but it's just one of those things. It passed through. Whatever. It is what it is. But Chris, I'm gonna get to you in a second. But one of the things that I do want to mention, as far as like one of the blurbs that were in the article, just kind of since we were just talking about Nintendo a little bit, and I do find this argument from Sony interesting in regards to like, oh, they need Call of Duty, but the Brazilian regulators did specifically say, as already seen, Nintendo does not currently rely on any content from Activision-Blizzard to compete in the market. In turn, Sony has several predicates: strength of the world's leading brand for more than 20 years, extensive experience in the sector, largest user base, largest install base of consoles, robust catalog of exclusive games, partnerships, and multiple publishers, brand loyalty, etc., which should contribute to maintaining the competitiveness of PlayStation in a post-operation scenario, even in the face of possibly losing Activision Blizzard content. Like, it's so like basically what they said, just to kind of in layman's terms, it's like Sony has hitters, right? Like that's basically what Manny just said. Sony has hitters, they'll survive. Nintendo has its own hitters, does not have Call of Duty on the platform at all, doesn't have really any Activision Blizzard content on the platform, and they are thriving. So the notion that Sony will be so hurt by not having Call of Duty and not having Activision Blizzard content is bullshit. And then to push that even further, that's not even what Microsoft is saying. They're saying that they want to put Call of Duty on PlayStation. They've also gone on record of saying that they want to put Call of Duty on Switch and that they're working with Nintendo to try to get that done once the deal closes. So like the scenario that, Sony is like all up in arms and yada, yada, yada. And like, it's just so weird to me. Now, Chris, I want to get your take before we move on to the other side of this story here, but what do you think about Brazil and what they've had to say so far?
You kind of get the impression that maybe that somehow, some way, Sony ticked off Brazil in the past, because that's kind of like the impression I'm getting. Because, like you said, there's kind of some like underlying tone there, in terms of some of the stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm glad that the stuff's going smoothly, kind of, in terms of getting some of this stuff approved. Yeah, I don't really see what the big deal is, but meh, yeah, I'm glad it's going how it's going. Not really too much to say on that, to be honest with you. People need to stop hating. Let it happen. That's it. Stop being stupid. Stupid.
It is really silly. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, you mentioned like, Sony must have done something to piss them off. I actually feel like I feel like this isn't even necessary that they're pissed off. Like it just seems like this is the way regulators should be viewing this. It's like okay, so you as
Unbiased.
a big, yeah, like it's a pretty non-biased view of it, right? It's just like this is silly. Why are you saying that? Like so basically the people who make consoles that are essentially in third place, right? Because like Nintendo and Sony are above Microsoft by large margins in certain metrics, depending on what you want to look at. You're like the leader in consoles, and you're upset because the person in third place wants to buy like more content, basically. And they're saying out loud publicly that they want to keep that content on your platform. Like I get that there's some, there's potential for Microsoft to I guess have some wiggle room down the road, but like ultimately Microsoft looks like the bad guy if they go out and say that they want to put the stuff on PlayStation and then take it out later, So like you're just like yelling into a void. It's so weird to me, bro. And
like,
both
my bad.
companies
Go ahead.
both companies are trying very hard to diminish their own success to like either
Yeah.
get this thing through or like Microsoft's like, oh, we're like third in console sales, we're like seventh in PC sales, da, 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 da. Like they're doing so much work to like discredit themselves. Sony on the other hand is doing so much work to discredit themselves, like, oh, we need Call of Duty to sell systems. Like you don't have God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us. You know what I mean? It's like if they really took that away from y'all, are y'all really gonna be that hurt? No, you're not.
Oh, I'm telling you, the real question here is, right, fellas, do y'all really think if the tables were turned, right, and PlayStation or Sony was going to get ready to buy Activision-Blizzard,
We wouldn't
do
even
you
be
guys
having
truly
this
think?
conversation.
Do y'all truly think that they would allow this game to be on Microsoft's platform?
We wouldn't even be
Absolutely
having this
not.
conversation.
Absolutely not. They would have did everything in their power to be like, yep, nope, you got a year. You got a year. And they would have probably been very open about it.
Yeah.
If I had to guess. So yeah, nah, man. Whatever.
Now it's funny you say that, right? Because now, we'll pivot over to some information that Microsoft had recently just released. It's funny because it seems like they really just said this like a couple days ago, really just to brace for whatever is coming out of the UK regulators, or I think they call it the UK Competition and Markets Authority, so CMA for short. So they basically just went on like a completely offensive attack towards it. It's, literally accusing the UK regulators of basically just taking Sony's side. All of the arguments that the CMA outlined as their concerns for this case are literally the exact same things that Sony said in the Brazil case, like the public documents that we've seen from Sony and the things that Sony themselves have said publicly. So it's like you basically aren't, like it kind of sounds like you're not thinking for yourself at the end of the day, right? You're basically just maybe Sony has someone in their pocket, whatever, right? Like it just sounds weird. And obviously Microsoft has a case there because if Sony has come out and said like, oh, we're concerned about this, and this, and then the CMA is like one of the only people who are also saying that same thing, it doesn't look good necessarily. I mean, I don't know much about how these regulatory laws work, but I don't know. I just can't imagine it being particularly great. But just to read off a couple little blurbs of Microsoft's response here. All right, so they literally just come right out and said the CMA's concerns are misplaced for the following reasons. And some of it's kind of exactly what I was saying beforehand. Sony PlayStation has been the largest console platform for over 20 years, with an installed base of over 150 million consoles, making it larger than Nintendo and more than double the size of Xbox. So again, they're trying hard to diminish themselves, which is funny to see. Sony engaged. So this is one that was big, and it goes into exactly what you were saying yourself, Chris. So he says Sony engages in conduct today, which is reflective of its market power in console gaming, meaning they increase prices of consoles without fear of losing any market share. They even go on to say like they've actively tried to stop games from going into Game Pass, which we've obviously talked about before. I remember Resident Evil being one of the things that they had like this weird exclusivity deal, and like they couldn't do certain things. The game couldn't work better on Xbox versus PlayStation, so on and so forth. So I mean, Sony's like out here trying to make them sound like holier than thou, even though they're A, the market leader, B, people who've actively gone out of their way to try to limit games from going on to Xbox. Like I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is the perfect example, right? That game came out forever ago on PlayStation, and they said it only had a year console exclusivity, but yet it's not on Xbox at all. They constantly fight for exclusive games. Like they go out of their way to get like timed exclusives. I think Sifu might be another example. As much as it breaks my heart, I don't know if that's coming to Xbox anymore or at all, right? Because obviously we know the game came out earlier this year, and now it's going to be going to the Nintendo Switch in November, if I remember correctly, November 8th, I want to say it was. There's been no talk about it coming to Xbox, so it seems like their exclusivity deal is done for now, and we haven't seen any announcement for Xbox. So it's like, is Sony paying you to actively keep it off of Xbox? Is Sony creating some sort of deal where it's like a year exclusivity for like away from Xbox, but Switch somehow is different? Like, I don't know, just there are all these different things that play into it, and it's like I'm wondering if when this stuff gets down to it, whether it's a matter of Microsoft having to take this to court, which they may very well do if the CMA does reject this. Some of that stuff might come up. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more information around some of the other business practices that Sony's been doing. We've heard tons of crazy stuff already, and I can only imagine what they do to try to keep themselves, at the top and make sure that no games go to PlayStation. So I don't know, but Manny, I want to get your take on it. From the stuff that you've seen from the UK regulators, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't know if they have anybody in their pocket and like, here's a little pocket change, to say this. But it's honestly all petty in the end. Like you got, saying, I'm just going to echo, it's like Sony has no reason to feel like they're losing. They've been winning the console competition, last generation, Xbox is in last place. They're just scared of the fact that, they're actually competing now. Xbox Series X is launched very well in my opinion, and now Game Pass is kicking off really well as well. Microsoft keeps on adding to the library, and people keep subscribing, and Sony is just worried. And I don't understand why Sony would be worried, because they can easily compete the same way, but they launched their own PlayStation Plus Premium and Extra, but like the problem is they don't want to be like Microsoft and take the risk of putting their games on that platform day one. Those AAA titles such as God of War and Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, and that's the reason why Microsoft is winning, because Microsoft is taking that chance. They're losing a lot of money with people, just getting the games from Game Pass instead of buying it, right out $60. So, like I said, it's all petty. I don't understand why Sony complains too much, but in the end, I say this a lot. People that play PlayStation and say PlayStation's better in the end are the ones that probably play Call of Duty all the time and spend most of the time playing that game. So I can see why they're scared of losing that, but at the same time, it's not a big reason for them to be losing, because they also have those AAA exclusive games that carry them as well.
You're not wrong, bro. You're not wrong. There's a lot of I could see a scenario where if Call of Duty did go away, which obviously it seems like it's not happening. Some people might jump ship. What do you think, Chris? You think that would happen?
People jumping ship? Yeah. I mean, if you take what is a lot of people's favorite game and you put it exclusively on one console that you do not own, and then you couple that with the idea of Game Pass, people are going to jump ship. It's almost like you get a deal, plus you get to still play your game that you want to play. Mm-hmm. And within that, you're actually going to be able to take advantage of the deal to play the game. Like, bro, it's almost like at that point, what are you still arguing about? The fact that you don't like the controller anymore or some shit? Like, bro, like there really isn't. I don't know. I guess some people are loyalists to the heart when it comes to technology. And I guess I am too, to some degree, but it ain't that deep. It is not that deep. At the end of the day, at the very least, get you the cheap Xbox. You don't even got to go get the crazy expensive one. Just go get the cheap one, call it a day, and keep playing your game. You know, but people definitely gonna jump ship. You put that shit in Game Pass and you put it exclusively on Xbox. Oh yeah, or at the very least they're gonna try out PC. You know, one of the two. But that's inevitable, bro. Inevitable. That is too many people's favorite game
Yeah.
for it not to sway some folks over. Just as simple as that. Seriously, man. Too many people play this shit only. Come home, they don't even fucking look at other games. They don't download shit else. Fucking hard drive full of space, bro. Full of space. Ain't shit on that shit but God, bro. I'm telling you, man. Nah.
It's true. It is true though. It's obviously COD is kind of in a different place altogether. I think the only thing that usurps it really is Grand Theft Auto, and it's funny mentioning that because there was an interview like a couple days ago with the CEO of Take Two, where he came out in support of the deal. You know, in support of Microsoft specifically. He said, you know, in the interview that Microsoft was an ally and that you know this deal would be good for the industry. He didn't get a chance to go too deep into it because the reporter was really aggressively pushing him to say that like it wasn't good. It was really weird to watch. But what he specifically said that stuck out to me was, you know, if basically each game competes on its own, and that if Microsoft buys Activision, that doesn't take away from what Take Two has, which is called not Call it, sorry, Grand Theft Auto, right? Like nobody else can make Grand Theft Auto other than Rockstar. The way that like it's very apparent, right? Other people have tried, like a la Saints Row, and I guess to a lesser extent Cyberpunk. You know, like people have tried and failed. So you know, like it shouldn't take away from what other companies can do, and obviously it doesn't take away from what Sony can do with God of War and so on and so forth. But to kind of make one of the final points specifically on the Call of Duty thing, Microsoft did address that in their statements about the UK thing. You know, they this is verbatim directly from their press release here, but it said that Microsoft has no intention to take Call of Duty away from gamers, and indeed it has publicly committed not to do so. The value of Call of Duty depends on its community of gamers, the majority of whom are on PlayStation. So they're admitting, you know, off the bat, a lot of PlayStation gamers that play Call of Duty. Keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation is therefore a commercial imperative for the Xbox business and the economics of the transaction. They go on to say a lot of other things here, but in plain text, it's just saying we make money. We will make money off of PlayStation gamers. Why the fuck would we take it off the platform? Like there's too much money to be made from that. Obviously, Sony will make a lot of money from having PlayStation gamers stay there, and Microsoft will make just as much because they have to get their cut as well. So it just makes this whole conversation really weird and stupid, especially when they're so publicly saying they will put Call of Duty on that platform, on PlayStation, and likely even put it on the Switch as well. So it's just one of those weird things where it's just like people are effectively talking in circles. You know, obviously we got through the first hurdle with Brazil, we got to the first hurdle with Saudi Arabia. Really curious to see. I think the FTC, which is the U.S. branch of this whole thing, I think they're supposed to rule by November, mid-November, early November. So I mean, we may have like at least approval or denial from the U.S. very soon. I know the UK one is supposed to happen in January, and you know, there's a couple other ones that are spread out. But Microsoft still thinks they're still pretty confident that they can get it done, and I think they ultimately will as well. Even if they have to go to court with like the UK and stuff like that, I think they're going to get it done. It's just a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. And yeah, when it happens, we'll get all of our games on Game Pass, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And they'll hopefully fix all the problems that are going on with Call of Duty. I think the biggest one is to stagger its releases so that it's like every 2 years we get a Call of Duty. Give the developers more time, bring back the franchises that we all want to see. I don't know. They need to stop playing. They need to stop playing.
Yeah,
because Microsoft really
seriously.
can fix a lot of the problems that are going on with Activision. They could kill all these sexual assault things that are going on because they'll swap out all the people. Bobby Kotick got to go. All these other troublesome people got to go. And just do what they got to do with these franchises. That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, no. Well said.
Yeah, man.
Well said.
Well, that's probably a good place to leave it. You know, we've been going on, and we're obviously going to continue to talk more about this Activision stuff at some point because it's just kind of the gift that keeps on giving you. There's always some comment or something happening at some point over the course of the year, man. This is still the biggest. I remember what was it? Was it January? I can't remember. January or February. I just remember it being like when that
Yeah.
story hit, bro. I was like messaging y'all like, bro, this is real. $70 billion.
Yeah.
People was freaking
Yeah.
out, like, man, and it's obviously it's gonna be, it is still the biggest deal in gaming since. So yeah, we're all gonna keep our eye on it. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys are watching on the YouTube page. Make sure to check us out on our social media platforms as well, at XPack Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And then just search us up, Xpansion Pack Podcast with an X on TikTok. Thank you guys again for watching and listening. Check you guys out next week. Peace.